What an exciting topic we have today. We are going to talk about mentorship today. Before I do, as always, I want to say that this airtime is brought to you by Elevate Aviation. We're just so happy that we could do this webinar program and stay in touch with people in aviation and have these conversations, especially during a time like this with COVID. And so this conversation today about mentorship is very close to our hearts, and you're going to meet two people, maybe three. We have a third guest, but she's actually flying right now, so as soon as she touches down, she's going to join us a little bit later. But anyway, Elevate Aviation is a nonprofit organization, and our goal is to increase the number of women in aviation by showing them how amazing the career is. And as we rebuild from COVID, we know that the aviation industry is going to be booming again, because who doesn't want to fly, especially with winter coming up? I know I want to. Please, Mexico. I'm in Alberta. Well, I think two of us here are from Alberta. And it gets a little cold in here in the wintertime. So anyway, we sorry, I want to tell you about a couple things first. One, we are actually starting our membership program. So if you want to be a member with us, to support us, go to info@elevateaviation.ca, and you can be one of the first people to become a member with us, as that is going to go live, I think, next week. So that helps support us in what we're doing. So if you want to be a member, info@elevateaviation.ca. So let's jump into this, and I want to introduce you to two of possibly three guests today. So the first one, we have Sophia Wells. Now, Sophia is the Elevate Aviation Director of Community Engagement and Mentorship. This is why she's on here today talking about mentorship. She's a chief flight instructor of the Edmonton Flying Club and the chief pilot for Morgan Construction. Emily Wood is one of the mentor leads for Elevate Aviation, and she's with Air Canada. And then we have another lady, Carolina Cortez, and she is a mentor lead, a flight instructor, and a charter pilot. And as I said, that she's flying right now. So when she touches down, hopefully she's going to pop on here and join us. So if you suddenly see someone else pop on, that is why. So good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon. Emily, where are you?
Yeah. I'm in Toronto right now.
Okay, so good afternoon, Emily.
Good afternoon.
All right, so let's just talk. So Sophia, first of all, thank you both for being on here today. I really appreciate it. I know everyone's busy, and so I appreciate that. Sophia, so Elevate Aviation so we started with a calendar. You know that, of course. And this calendar was made as a fundraiser. The first one was a spoof on air traffic controllers. So we had some female air traffic controllers, like literally one of them was standing up. I don't know if you remember that picture, Sophia. She was in front of a 737 on the outside of it, pointing the direction of where the pilot should go. So it was like this spoof. And after a couple of years of the calendar, it was year 2, I think, that you came on. And then, Laura and I were exhausted and about to quit, and you came on and said, "Can I help?" And we're like, "Well, yes, you can." And then our mentorship program was born. So the mentorship program is developed over the years. So can you tell us, what does our mentorship program look like now, just to help other people get an idea of what a mentorship program, anyway, our mentorship program looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's taken a while to develop, and I think the most important thing is that we're always going to keep trying to make it better, because the minute you stop trying to make it better, what the heck's the point? So we're getting pretty good. We've made it a little cheesy and very aviation themed. We have a 5-tier program, and of course, they're all labeled by aviation terms. So you start off at number 1 in taxi, which for those of you non-aviation people means like when you're on the ground in an airplane, it's not called driving an airplane, it's called taxiing.
Not
so
Uber?
Taxi is that? No,
You're not talking about Uber taxis? Okay.
So taxi is when you're like, hey, aviation seems kind of interesting. How do I get involved? So that's where you're doing the research and talking to us about, well, what are the jobs as a pilot? How does an air traffic controller become an air traffic controller? How does an AME become an AME? How does someone like Emily do her crazy cool job? And all those other ones. So it's that information stage. Stage 2 or tier 2 is the takeoff stage. And that's when you become a mentee. So that's when you've decided, okay, I'm in, I want to do this. I've started training. So if you're a pilot, for example, you're at a flight school and you just want somebody to talk to and for some guidance and advice about how do I start this career? Maybe I'm struggling with something such as ground school. How does it work? And then this tier 3, that's when you've become a mentor. So this is when you're working as a pilot or controller and you want a mentor, but you don't really know how. So this is the stage where we will provide some training such as this, as well as a few other things about how does it all work? What do I do when this happens or that happens? How do I become a great mentor? Tier 4 is called the approach stage. Again, funny airplane lingo. And this is where you're actively mentoring. So this is when you are the mentor helping those back in stage 2 at the, learning how to, maybe they learn how to fly or they're in training for AME, air traffic control, so on and so forth. So this is where you're actually giving back. Now, tier 5 is one that we've really been developing lately, and it's called Arrival. And that's really where we want you to get a little bit more personal development so that you can be that much stronger of a person and as a mentor, and hopefully even mentor the mentors. So be there helping those new mentors. How do I help that young person? And what can my mentee just came to me with this? I don't know what to do. They go to their mentor. So we just keep building that women lifting each other up and that sense of community throughout.
So are men allowed to enter this mentorship program?
100%, of course. As you always say, we love men.
We do.
We don't have that many. We've got actually quite a few amazing male mentors, but we don't actually have very many male mentees, which is kind of interesting.
And what about other diverse groups? Indigenous, LGBTQ2 plus? Did I say that right?
Absolutely.
I hope so.
Absolutely. Everybody is welcome. We'll help anybody that is looking for help. And we don't say no.
Right.
If we can help you, we will.
Right. And especially, I guess, as mentors too, like the more diverse group of mentors that we get, the more that we can help, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Sophia, thank you so much for leading this entire program. I know it's been building and it's been growing, the amount of people that have been coming in over the years, and I've watched as you've gone from I'm having a conversation with my mentor to holy cow, how do we keep the personal touch as this grows? Tell me about the military.
Yeah, so that's really fantastic. I guess it's been almost 2 years ago now, we kind of split the program. So one of our other major helpers with Elevate, Alexia Hannum, has stepped up and she's really building the military side of it. So in the military aspect, because they work so much on a chain of command style, but it's actually within the military. So let's say you're a captain in the military doing something, and you may have some new second lieutenant that comes into the military and really is just kind of not really sure how to make it to captain, or not really sure how to a captain wanting to go to general, and so on and so forth. So what the program does is it pairs different women throughout the military up with other women to inspire, and to mentor and to coach and to just be there as a sounding board, as well as just somebody to try and help them develop their career that much more, and understand what it's like to being a woman in the military.
And so Emily, I was going to say someone just disappeared. Emily, so you are a mentor lead. Right. Can you explain what is a mentor lead and why are you here? I said that nicely, but why is there a need for a mentor lead? What happened here that brought you into this program?
Well, I took, I think, some of the work from Sophia because she had so many mentors. And because Elevate is growing, we needed someone in Ontario to take over our forever long list of mentors that we have, which is absolutely amazing. So I do all of the pairings of mentors here in Ontario. So when someone joins us, whether they're in taxi or stage 2 or stage 3, I talk to all of our new mentees, all of our new mentors, get a little bio about them, and then do my best to match them up with someone who is going to best help them along their aviation journey. And then we just go from there. So as they go along their different stages, I change up their mentors, so they're always getting new information and new help. And then a lot of times our mentees also become mentors. So it's really neat to watch them grow in their careers here in Ontario.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack in that. I have a lot of questions, and anyone that's watching, if you guys have some questions, please throw them out. We'll answer your questions. Emily, tell us about yourself first. So you're in aviation.
Yeah.
What do you do? You work for Air Canada.
Yeah.
Can you describe what you do, and then maybe a little bit about, how you got into the role? Because I know aviation is not, it's not necessarily a normal pathway for women to go into. So there's usually some story about, usually your dad, or we'll see. But so tell us about your job and how you got there.
Okay. So currently I work for Air Canada as an AQP training specialist, which most people have no idea what it is.
I
I
don't
actually
either.
didn't know until I Googled it prior to my interview. So I work with the team and we do script development and data analysis for our pilot training program. And so it's very fleet specific. And then there's different intervals, and we'll create scripts as the pilots go along their training course, and then modify them to make sure that they're getting training that's meeting the ever-changing needs. So it's a lot of really different things. And it's really neat. We work alongside Transport Canada to make sure that their training matches regulations and is meeting all of the standards and requirements and things like that. So it's really, really busy, but I do really like it.
Wow.
And I got into aviation, I think I was in grade 4, and I just had this weird obsession with airplanes. Don't really know where it came from, but I just was obsessed with airplanes, and everyone had like their dolls and stuff, and I just had airplanes all over the place. Why? Honestly, no idea. And I didn't know anyone in aviation, and I didn't know what careers were available to me. And then all through high school, I had done all my projects on different careers in aviation, and was always told, no, like, this is not a good career choice. This is not what you should do. So then I actually went to school for business for a year, and the regret that I felt not following my weird passion for aviation and everything airplane related was immense. And I don't want anyone to ever feel like that. And I don't want anyone to do a presentation on aviation in grade 10 and be told this is ridiculous. This is not a good career choice. And so that's why when I was asked to join Elevate, I didn't hesitate. And I said I would absolutely love to join this organization, because I didn't have anyone in my corner when I was wanting to pursue aviation.
So who was telling you?
My guidance counselors, and I don't want to name any
It's
names.
true, Sophia. We hear these stories. It's true. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
continue, Emily. Sorry, I cut you off.
And my grade 10 careers teacher. I don't want to name her name, but she, in front of the whole class, was like, this is an absolutely horrific career path to choose, and I do not recommend it. And I just remember standing there being like, interesting. I spent so long on that project, and that was when I realized, like, maybe this is not a good career option for me. So
that's so heartbreaking to hear.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like, and one of the things that we're trying to do too is get into, as you know, Emily, I'm sure, we're trying to get into schools and the guidance counselors and educate them on different careers inside aviation, and so that they're aware of where they can go to get help themselves if they have questions about aviation, or if they have students who are interested in aviation, they can hook them up with, an organization like ours that can actually talk to people and tell them the realities of aviation. Wow, I'm sorry.
I mean, it just
Good
made
for
me
you
a
for
stronger
overcoming.
person today, and I think it helps me become a better mentor. And so now I'm fine with it, and I thank them for their very negative input, but it's still welcome. And I guess I'm now aware of what people may think of aviation when they're in high school, or why people don't think of it as a career option. I think it's because people are telling them no when they should be told yes. So
do you find that's helped you as a mentor, like having had that negative experience?
I do. I think it has helped me a lot, because I kind of, when they're told no, or when they have a negative experience being a female or a male trying to get into aviation, and they have all of these negative ideas of the industry, especially now with COVID and people are losing their jobs, and it's really hard for everyone. They probably think there's no good career options, or it's either like a pilot or a flight attendant or air traffic control, but there's so many different careers that you can choose. And I think learning about all of them and being told no so much has really helped me.
Aw. So for both of you, like, giving is amazing, and what you are both doing with the mentorship program is truly inspirational. What do you get? What are the benefits to being a mentor? Because there has to be some sort of return on your investment. So what is it for you guys? What does it do for you? Sophia, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. It's hugely beneficial. I mean, it breaks your heart a little bit at times because to be a good mentor, you have to remember that you're not telling someone what to do. You're trying to help guide them to make their own life choices. And so I have quite a few female pilots, student pilots that I'm mentoring, and I adore each of them because they're all so passionate and excited about their careers, and it's wonderful to see. But they've struggled in different aspects, whether it's in their personal lives or in their flight training. And you can't, I had one student, for example, mentee of mine that was training at one school, and just all of a sudden her instructor left, and then she didn't get another one right away, and she was really frustrated and upset, and so she went to a different school. And as much as I knew this other school she was going to didn't have a great reputation, I just said, okay, well, just make sure you check these things, and whatever you need, I'm here for you. And she ended up going to the other school and had a really, really awful experience with an instructor that actually was trying to make advances on her, which was really uncomfortable. And then, she had to come to me and say, like, what do I do with this? And I said, well, what do you want to do with it? And she's like, well, I don't like the guy. I was like, so have you told him that? And you have this conversation of trying to listen to them and help them figure out how to deal with things without, like I said, telling them exactly what they have to do, because it ultimately is their life. And she really grew through that whole experience and ended up saying, like, this is not what I want, left that school, actually ended up going back to the other school, and is doing really well. And was just, the amount that I saw her grow in that process, and then I continue to see her grow as she keeps trying to challenge herself. That to me is the coolest part of being a mentor, is actually seeing someone develop and push themselves and become, these strong women, not just aviators or just strong individuals in general. And to me, that's the best part of all.
Is it the feeling that you get that is almost your payment?
Yeah, your little baby bird.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that you can't replace, that feeling.
No, it's also, I think, the understanding that you're trying to help somebody be a better person for this world. And if we can all just try to lift each other up a little bit more and make the world better, that's doing your part.
Yeah. Emily, what about you? Why are you? I know we know why you're a mentor, but what, and I'm asking this question so that other people that are watching this can consider becoming mentors, because it's not just about giving. You get something back. What do you get back out of being a mentor?
I don't want to steal what Sophia said, but I completely agree about that, like, feeling of just like happiness for these individuals as they progress throughout their careers, and you watch them grow, or you watch them get that job that they were hoping for, and you sat with them and helped them with their resume or their cover letter and things like that. It is like this indescribable feeling, because you're really happy for them and you want to see them succeed. And just the dedication on their part to find a career in aviation that they're so passionate about. It's just really amazing watching them, I guess, achieve their goals and achieve their career dreams. And also, I just feel like our mentors, we're all so dedicated to helping these girls. And I remember last winter, it was a crazy snowstorm in Toronto, and it took me 7 hours to drive to London. But we did a mentorship meetup in downtown Toronto, and it took me 7 hours to get home, but mentors and mentees made it out to this coffee shop. And by no means am I saying we risk your life to come to a mentorship event. But
you guys did that night.
We did that night. And it was just so amazing to know that people, mentors, really wanted to meet up with their mentees and share their experiences. And it kind of blew my mind, how dedicated some people were to get to this coffee meetup in the middle of a blizzard, because the weather was terrible, but everyone was like, no, we have to come, we have to have this event. And that was the day I really realized how dedicated our mentors are and how driven they are to help these all of their mentees succeed. So, and that day it's just stuck in my memory forever. I was just so blown away.
Okay, please
The
don't risk your
friendships,
life.
right?
Please don't,
We won't
please
be
don't.
doing it this year. I mean, coffee shops aren't even, I don't even know if you can sit in them in Toronto right now, but
Right.
Yeah. When the very first time I sort of went, like did a volunteer thing was, Sophia, you know the story. I was with the Make-A-Wish, and long story short, when it came to the day of making this wish come true for this little girl, I saw her face when she saw, I gave her, the Make-A-Wish gave her a hot tub. And when I saw her see that hot tub, the joy, like, this is a Make-A-Wish, this was her wish, right? And anyway, we made this big parade, and anyway, it was in that moment that I was like, oh, I've never felt this joy. Okay, my kids are born, there's joy that you want to take away from that, but outside of my family, I've never ever felt this joy. And so I say it's a bit selfish. Giving, it can be selfish, but it's the most healthy selfish, because it just, what you get back is so incredible. So
100%, 100%. And the connections, like, I even think of, like, Emily, I probably never would have met if it wasn't for Elevate and this mentorship. And now I have this wonderful friend in my life that, I've got to know, and I'm getting to know more. And that's the other big part of all these mentors and the mentees is, as you make all these great connections. And the aviation industry, it's not huge. So, the amount, like, even flying now, I'll do a trip across Alberta, and the amount of people I get, oh, hey, Sophia, it's just cool. And a bunch of them now are female, which is, I don't know, that's extra special too. So it's a really, as much as you're giving to help other people, you get so much out of being a mentor.
Yeah, you really do. So people watching, if you're considering becoming a mentor, do it, right? That's okay. That's our sales pitch on becoming a mentor. Okay, I want to get to a couple questions from people watching. Caleb, we had this question, and it fits in right now. Thank you for asking it. What has been a unique challenge or interesting story that you have experienced as a mentor? One of you want to go first?
Emily, do you have any?
I can just share what that happened. Actually, I think it was this week, maybe last week. One of our, I guess, new mentees, she's looking to transition into aviation, but she is a little bit older, and she wasn't sure 100% of aviation was a good career choice to make, especially in the current times. And so I had sent out an email to a whole bunch of mentors with different backgrounds, asking if they would be willing to mentor her. And I had sent out like a little snippet of her bio. And the responses I got back went from, I can't even tell a helicopter from a ceiling fan, but I transitioned into aviation at an older age, and I'd be willing to share like that side of it, to a whole bunch of helicopter pilots offering their advice. Sometimes it's very overwhelming, and it's difficult to figure out what mentor would be a good match for them. And that's happened quite a few times, where we have such a big list of mentors that I don't even know where to begin and what would be best for them. So a lot of times I do have to go back to my mentee and ask, like, what do you think would be best, or who do you want to speak to first, or do you want to speak to all of them? And
okay. Sorry. Okay, you know what? Let's hold that thought, because I want to dive into that a little deeper. Sophia, do you have a story you want to share first? And then we're going to come back to how do you pair them up? Like, 'cause that's really interesting, I think. So do you have a story, Sophia?
There's so many. I've shared the one already of a couple of, like, one of my students, and that's happened unfortunately a few different times with different mentees of mine. I know Carolina, if she jumps on, she's got some really interesting ones where she's had younger students, younger mentees, and it's their parents that are reaching out to them a lot and saying, well, my kid's not doing well in flight school or whatever it is. And she's like, I'm not the parents' mentor, but the mentees. So trying to find that, and we worked a lot together that when that happened, just talking and trying to find a nice way to say to the parent, like, look, I 100% respect, you are a mentor to your own child, and obviously you want them to succeed, but I have to have my own relationship with the mentee. And so it was a little bit tricky trying to find a nice, easy way to explain that to the parent, and then also to explain it to the mentee and say, look, like, I'm here for you if you want to talk about stuff, what we talk about is confidential, and, you know, trying to build that relationship so that the mentee eventually did actually really open up to Carolina, and which was so beneficial and really helpful. And she was then able to figure out why she was struggling so much in flight school, and they worked through it. And the young lady has gone on and finished her private license. I think she's working on a commercial now. But it was this big hurdle of this like kind of struggle between this young mentee and her parents, and then the mentor got stuck in the middle. And so, you know, like that was quite an experience of just trying to think, okay, how do we handle this gracefully? How do we work together? And that's one of the big things with our mentorship program is, as a mentee or a mentor, if you're really struggling, especially as a mentor, on how to help your mentee, you have a whole team of us that are there to talk to you about, whether it's the mentor lead in the province and then all the way up to me. By all means, we'll talk about it. We'll have Zoom meetings as we need, and try to work together and come up with a couple of solutions to try and help and support.
I'm so proud of you guys. It makes me so happy. Okay, so I want to get to some of the questions, but first let's just go back to, how do you pair them up? So like there's hundreds of people now, to the point where you had to get, Sophia, you had to get mentor leads to help. And then we have the military broken off because that was growing too big. How does this work? Emily, do you want to maybe continue that thought that you were on, that like, if someone says, you know, they come in, walk us through the process. You get an email. How does it work?
Yeah, so I get an email, and normally there's like a small snippet of a bio of someone, whether it's they want to be a mentor, or they would like a mentor and they're a mentee. And then I try to arrange a Zoom meeting or a phone call with every single new person in Ontario. And just like 10 to 15 minutes more time if needed, just to learn a little bit more about them and their career goals. And then I write a little bit longer of a bio for all of our mentors and our mentees, and then go from there. So I'll try to, when I'm trying to match someone up, I'll take that bio and send it out to a list of mentors that I think would be a good match. And then they have the opportunity as a mentor to read the bio and see if they have experience that they think would be beneficial. And then I also do include the, I guess, goals of the mentee, just so the mentor is aware of what they are trying to achieve that way.
Do you cross the provinces too with this? Like, I know we have a lovely lady in Ottawa, Kaylee Horn, who's transgender and proud of it. And so, you know, Sophia, I know that there's been a couple of transgender people that have come in. Do you keep them in their province, or do you match them up that way too? Like if there's someone that comes in Prince Edward Island who's transgender and there's no one else there, do you match them up with Kaylee in Ottawa?
Absolutely. It's, I mean, we do try to keep sometimes provincial, just so that then you're more likely, especially pre-COVID, to be able to go for that cup of coffee. But especially with Zoom and internet technology and whatnot, that we're able to definitely, and especially if it's a situation like that maybe like Kaylee's a helicopter pilot, but maybe it's even somebody that's an AME, but in that life. And so you can have more than one mentor as well. It's not just one. And maybe, you know, we've had a few that have one young lady that wanted to be an engineer in the military. So she was paired up with a military mentor, and then she's gone, I'm not so sure about this. So then we've been trying to pair up with a civilian engineer and go, okay, well, here it is. They're not at all in the same province, because sometimes the type of engineer especially isn't in the same province as you. So, you know, we try to really find people and recruit, and we're constantly recruiting, especially in the engineering side of things, and like unique jobs, especially like the cool ones like Emily's, because they're harder to find. And then when we get a mentee asking, we're like, oh my gosh, I gotta find somebody for you. And it's kind of fun. And as we get bigger, it becomes a lot easier to find more people in those jobs. And the other thing with it too is to keep in mind that when when we go to pair up mentors, we always give our mentors the option. It's never, here's your new mentee. Like Emily explained, if they're like, whoa, I have 5, I'm full out. No problem. We'll make a little note on the like master list and saying like, they're full for now, or like, you know, they're something's going on in their life. They can't take a mentee right now. And that's totally fine. It's always a volunteer option and not something you have to say yes to, especially if your life just, you know, can't afford you to be a really good mentor at that time.
Do you ever get it wrong? And that leads to Caroline Rose. Hi. Her question is there a time when you stop mentoring? For example, when do you feel like you've taken the mentee as far as a relationship can go? So I guess it combined, you know, do you ever get it wrong, or is there a time where that relationship is over and they need to move on to someone else, or you need to move on as a mentor?
100%. 100%. And it's, I'm sure Emily can agree to this, is there's some people too that it's a two-way street relationship, right? So you'll get some mentees that are gung-ho and they have all the questions and they'll reach out to their mentor and they talk a lot and they have this great relationship. And you'll have other mentors that come back to us and go, I've tried emailing, I've tried calling, I've tried texting, no response. Like, what do I do? And that's just the nature of human beings. You can't force mentorship onto somebody, and if it's not actually something they want, then that's that. Or others that want to be really engaging and the mentor doesn't have time. And then, the biggest thing too is, it's like I said, it's a two-way street. So if you are a mentee and you're finding, hey, my mentor doesn't reach out enough, or she doesn't respond, or let us know, and by all means we will definitely like repair you, give you another option. But it's the human nature, right? You gotta work with people the best you can.
Are the mentors screened? Like how do you know you're picking people that will be good mentors?
Do you want to take that one, Emily?
Sure. I know for me personally, I do try to speak to all of the new mentors before they join. And I lay out all of the expectations that we have, just so they are aware of what we expect from them. And then also, I guess, what we expect from the mentees as well, just so everyone is on the same page. And then they have the option to say like, no, this is not for me, or I think I would be great at this. And I can kind of get a sense from just that beginning, I guess, interaction, if I think they would be good or not. And for the most part, I can't say I've had anyone that I've been like, this person is absolutely horrible and I wouldn't want to partner them up. They've all been absolutely amazing. And then I know now we're creating like a training program for our new mentors. I don't know, Sophia, if you want to add a little bit to that, but I think that will also be really good and help our mentors have more resources when they mentor their new mentees.
Well, and Caleb just asked a great question here. He said, to that question, is there a measure after the mentoring relationship to know the effectiveness of the mentorship mentee pairing?
And that's where we're really working to try and grow right now, is we haven't really captured like that aspect. We do have a master list, and we try to reach out to all of those mentees and such at least once a year and go, hey, how's it going? But it's hard to get responses. So we're looking at a few different options. Having a membership site is going to help us enormously here. I cannot wait, just because it'll be a lot easier for us to track, as well as to, instead of, one person sending out 200 and some emails, one individually, that we can send out maybe a survey to all of our mentees and go, what do you like about the program? What don't you like? How can we improve it? And really get live feedback from the people that are utilizing the program and try to just keep making it better.
That is a tough part as it grows, right? Like when it's small, you can have such a personal relationship. And then as the organization grows, we're really protective of it. And I know you're so protective of it, and you don't want it to become a big organization where you feel like you're not talking to any human being, right? Mm-hmm. You're so good at that. Yeah. You're so good at that.
I don't know. It's not me. It's the whole team. Like, honestly, we have such a great team of incredible women.
We are so lucky. How many mentor leads are there across the country?
Well, we currently have 4 and 5 coming online here pretty quick. So Emily, of course, is in Ontario. We have Carolina in BC. We have Shelby in Saskatchewan. We just signed on Jamie up in the northern wing. And then we've got a couple more working on Quebec and in the Atlantic regions as well. So it's coming along. And then we also have Mylène Lavallee in Winnipeg and for Manitoba. So actually, I guess we've got 5, 6 getting there. Oh, I think actually Carolina just messaged me. She's going to jump on. Okay. So that'll be good. But yeah, so it's continuing to build.
And they're under the ambassadors, right? Like there's ambassadors across the country to take off. Like basically, as Elevate has grown, there's more schools that are calling. Ontario was the one that went crazy first. More schools that are calling, and we're trying to arrange for speakers to get out to schools and in different provinces and territories across the country. So there's ambassadors and everywhere, right? And then there's these community leads and mentor leads under them.
Yeah. Yeah. So each province will have, or the northern wing, we have, of course, our 3 territories. And in the north, there's 1 ambassador and 1 mentor lead, and we're working on a community and tours lead as well, just to try and break up that workload. Now, each of those teams, as Emily can talk about with the Ontario team, that's the other cool thing about it is we're building these little rock star teams of really powerful individuals that are just, the amount of support that they show each other as well as the aviation community, it just honestly makes my heart melt every time I think about it, because they are getting so strong. And this whole aspect of what we've started with Elevate is really, it's like, I don't know, it's like wildfire a little bit, I guess. It's catching on. And we've got a lot of really great people that just need the support and want to help each other and others. So it's really neat seeing that chain of, kind of breaking it up and building a full-on organization and the chain of command, and it all starting to work out across the country and getting a lot more structured, which is really, really helpful.
Okay, and so I'm going to read something while Carolina gets set up with her audio. This is from Trevor. I do some mentoring with students, community groups, and kids in Trinidad and Tobago. And hello, Trevor. Thanks for joining us again. I hope it's possible that you can share some of your program stakes 1 to 4, so I can highlight your organization to the rest of the Caribbean. My passion for aviation and sharing my experience is the reward I receive. Don't expect more financially. Help the youth seek goals and careers. Way to go, Trevor. That's exactly how
Well
we
done.
feel, right? And Trevor, if you want more information on our mentorship program, just throw some more questions here, or we can also we can get on a Zoom with you later if you like, right? And have a conversation with you more about our mentorship program and maybe how we can help you in the Caribbean. We can even come visit.
Yeah,
Anyone?
I wish. Here we go. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Carolina, hi.
Hi, how are you? So sorry.
Hey, you know what?
You're
It's
fine.
it's aviation industry. We're used to this. It's totally okay. We'll just jump right in. Carolina, can you introduce yourself and what you do, and maybe even say where were you just right now? You're
Okay.
flying somewhere?
I'm a flight instructor at Pitt Meadows. I teach anything from a 152 up to King Air. And so I don't know, I'm a class 1 instructor. Today I was taking a student on the King Air. We went to Chilliwack, we got fuel, and then we went up there and did a little bit of air work on the north side there to get the student familiar with the airplane. And then we just ran back to come to the meeting.
Well, I can't thank you enough for joining us. So we're so happy to have you. You know what? Sorry, we're just going to sort of keep going and get into this.
Yeah,
So one of the questions that we were talking about earlier, and I know Sophia mentioned we were talking about maybe some of the experiences that you've had with mentees. And Sophia mentioned maybe you had interactions with parents where you had to kind of figure that out. Do you want to talk more of that, or do you have another example of an interesting story or how the relationship between what you've noticed between mentoring and mentee is like?
Overall, I find that my relationship with my mentees is really good, and I find it very rewarding. I hope they find the same. I really enjoy talking to them about their careers, giving them advice about all of that. But I find most of them actually look for like up-to-date advice because I'm a flight instructor. Many of them are in flight training. So they ask me about how they did on their flights or how they can improve something specifically. And I get to give them some advice there. It is a little tricky as flight instructors because we don't want to step on each other's toes either. So since they're not my students, I always try to be a little bit careful with what I tell them, but I give them suggestions and I always encourage them to talk to their instructor. But I did have one very interesting situation in which a mom, I was the mentor for the girl or the lady, and then the mom sent a message requesting to be also looking for a mentor, and so it got sent to me too. And I was talking to the mom, and at first I didn't put it together. And in the middle of it, she says something like, "Oh yeah, her mentor is this old lady, and she's not very good, and blah 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 blah." And then I put it together in the middle of the conversation, and I was like, "Oh, she's talking about me."
Oh
But
no.
it ended up being that she wasn't talking about me. I ended up having a discussion with the mom. She was talking about a different mentor from a different organization.
Oh,
For a while there, it was quite awkward and quite confusing for everybody. But after I talked to the mom, it got cleared up. It just this lady, she, I don't know, it was she had the worst case scenario. She went from different school to different school, and she kept being passed on from different instructor to different instructor because her instructors would move on to different places or different careers. And so she just had a really bad luck. And so once I explained a lot of how the aviation industry works to her mom, she kind of calmed down a little bit. And it was funny because she was like, "Oh, please don't tell her I contacted you." And I was
oh,
like, it's okay, I
uh,
won't. But yeah, no, to this day, I still work with her daughter as a mentee, and it's very rewarding. I still help her.
oh, that's good. And you know what? Like we kind of touched on a little bit earlier, not all pairings are perfect. Someone might work really well for you and doesn't work for another person. So like, of course, that's going to happen that you end up with someone perhaps that isn't a good match. And that's probably what it was. It just wasn't a good match. So that's totally okay. I would say if you're ever in a mentor situation and it's not a good match, don't give up on that. Okay, I just want
Absolutely.
to read a comment from Perry, our favorite baker. He says he said this earlier. He was saying it bugs me that anyone should be told what they can or cannot do in life. Period. End of story. Women can do anything men can do, and almost always better. Oh, uh, so stop listening to the naysayers and prove them wrong. Remember, the weather and the plane does not know or care if you're male or female. Thank you, Perry. That is very nice of you to say. We could get in trouble if we say women are better than men, though. So that came from Perry. Okay, let's just talk for a minute here about reverse mentoring. Emily, do you want to start with this one? What is reverse mentoring and what do you think about it?
I honestly had no idea what this was until last Friday when the Ontario like executive team was having a discussion. And so what reverse mentoring is when you partner a younger individual up with someone who is a little bit older. And it can be like it's beneficial for both people, but the younger individual will provide advice. And a lot of times it's like different computer software information about like Excel and things like that. And then they will mentor someone who's a little bit older, create a bond, a friendship, and then that person can also provide career advice as well, being from someone who's been in the industry or in the position for a little bit longer in time. So it's a little bit backwards mentoring, kind of, because you, I think, assume a lot of times it's going to be someone older who's mentoring someone younger, but in this case, it will be someone younger mentoring someone who's older.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sfaya?
I was just going to say a couple tips with that too for future mentors. If you are mentoring somebody that's a little bit older than you, that the biggest key there is respect, and remembering that just because they're older than you still should be respectful of them and their position in life, even if you maybe do know a bit more than they do on the topic. It's never a competition in any of those situations. So just be really patient. Try to think about anytime you're mentoring anyone, really, if you can try to put yourself in their shoes for a few minutes and step back and remember that, again, you're not telling them how to do anything or what to do, but you're helping them find their path and their way about it. So just being supportive, being respectful, and patient.
I think reverse mentoring also is, it could be, the older person is the mentor, whatever age, and they're learning from a younger person. There's a lot of things out there that young people know that the older generation, could use some help in. So it could also be in that way too. Okay, so what about other companies? Okay, so let's just talk about that. We know that there's companies that have mentorship programs and there's companies that don't have mentorship programs. And Sophia, one of the things that you and I have talked about a lot, I just hosted the panel for a female AME panel. AME is aircraft maintenance engineer. I know you guys all know that. but they still feel quite alone oftentimes in the journey that they're going through because there's so few of them. So that's an area that I think all companies with AMEs should really start an AME mentorship program. But that's just an example. Like, I think all companies should have a mentorship program. Do you guys have any advice for companies starting mentorship programs if they don't have one now, on how they could start, and should they? Do you also think that they should?
I'll let one of you take
I
this one.
I think from my part, I think it's very valuable for companies to do that. I can see the difficulties in a smaller company accomplishing that.
Right. So maybe a smaller company would actually be better lining up with somebody, organizations like ours, if it's aviation or whatever other organizations out there have, there's mentorship programs. There's mentorship programs you can pay for, whatever. There's some free ones. There's ones that you pay for. So yeah, you're right. Like, a small organization might be beneficial to put some money into having an outside mentorship program.
Mm-hmm.
Sophia?
Yeah, I think that's good advice, and it can be hard in small companies for sure, just because of the amount of people. It's very close, everybody knows everybody, and maybe you don't feel as comfortable talking about some things. The bigger companies, especially though, I think having any kind of support, and even if it's just partnering with other companies, it's about building a network of comfort and support, and always feeling like you could talk to somebody about things. I know other companies maybe don't feel like they need to have a mentorship program just because, like, oh, we're already so close knit. Well, you don't actually know that unless you ask your staff and your people. So I definitely encourage people to consider that and find out if it would be something that their employees are looking for and would feel they would benefit from. As well as a bigger company, the productivity of happy employees and employees that feel respected and supportive is proven over and over and over again to be so much more beneficial for a company and make more money. And that's what most companies are looking for. So trying to find ways to get your staff feeling supported and comfortable, an easy way to do it is that mentorship program, if it's well run and organized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things that we're doing with Elevate is our master class, because we realize the need to have more women up in the executive level suites in aviation, well, around the world, but especially in aviation. And so we're starting a master class, which actually starts tonight. We have the CEO, Ed Sims, on with us, and so that's what we're doing. We're trying to mentor in a different way as well. And in this case, it's a small group of 10 people who get mentorship on leadership. And so companies could consider doing things like that if they're not already doing them as well. Put out your own, call us, we can help do these leadership mentorship programs or mentorship programs on any level. Because obviously we have a whole bunch of people who are passionate about it and love to do it. So, okay, so let's see, Emily, tell me some advice you would give for somebody who's considering being a mentor, or to someone who's mentoring now. Like, what do you suggest? Maybe there's someone watching that's not part of our mentorship program and they're like, I'm a mentor, but don't really know what to do.
I think anyone can be a mentor because everyone has very different experiences within the industry, and everyone has something that they can offer and something that they can share. So I would definitely never not be a mentor or second guess yourself. And the one thing that I always tell my mentors is just to make sure that they are always being honest and open with their mentee. Like Sophia said, we're not here to tell you what to do, but if we have made mistakes or we've done things that we probably wouldn't do again, and it looks like our mentee may be heading in that direction, just to say like, hey, this happened to me and this was the outcome, didn't go so great, so maybe try this. I think just being open and honest with all of our experiences is really important. And I would definitely sign up to be a mentor if you are sitting back and you're not 100% sure if you can do it. I think anyone can be a mentor, and it will definitely help you as an individual grow as well. I know before I became a mentor, I hated public speaking. I mean, I still do, but it's definitely helped me grow a lot as an individual as well. So definitely join us. And I think it's really beneficial for you as a mentor to learn and grow yourself. So
Thank you. Carolina, how about you? What are some mentor tips you would give people? How do you be a good mentor?
Well, to be honest, I'm still learning, but I what I've realized is, open and honest communication, like Emily said, is very important. Being able to listen to the other person and not necessarily always have an answer. You may not always have the answers, but if you are just there to listen, many times that's all they want, right? They just want to somebody that's able to listen to them and has been in their position and can kind of sometimes explain how the industry works or that. But I just find connection, right? Building connection with the other person is very key in building the trust, right? Because it's a trusting relationship that you're building with this other person.
Yeah, communication and trust is so huge, so huge. There's people out in the world who don't have people to talk to that they can trust. And so sometimes a mentor like in a case like this can be the only person that you have to talk to, that you're truly, hopefully open with. So important. Sophia,
Mhm.
how about you?
I guess the two things I would say is, one, don't be afraid to reach out to your mentees. I know sometimes it's tough, we all get busy in our own lives. And I'm constantly trying to work on this with my own mentees is sometimes they'll reach out lots, and I try to encourage all of mine. Anytime you have questions, please just send me a text, call, send me an email, because it is a two-way street. But as a mentor, don't hesitate to just send that quick, hey, how's it going? How's the studying? How's this? And just checking in with them. The second piece of advice is, if you're struggling to get the conversation going, often asking questions is a great key. And we've got a couple of great questions available, like a page full that we can ask on the website, I think, of like what mentors can ask, what mentees can ask. So if you're struggling to get that conversation going, we've got some tools to help you. And that's where, like Emily was saying, that testimonial comes in, of saying like, hey, like when I first started whatever training, this is what happened to me. And sharing that personal experience, it just allows you to feel more like a real human being, and not, because a lot of times as a mentor, when you think about, when you were first starting out, the people that you may be as a mentor now, we're kind of up on a pedestal. You have so much like, oh my gosh, one day I want to be a pilot like them, or I want to be an air traffic controller in terminal like Kendra, or, whatever it might be. So it's important to try and remember to help them feel comfortable with you, and to try and put yourself out there a little bit. So that's sometimes the hardest part of being a mentor, is you also have to put your walls down a little bit, and let them in, and let them get to know you a bit too.
Wow, that's great advice. Emily, who's your mentor? Do you have one? I'm going to ask you all.
Honestly, I would have to say Sophia.
Aw.
Just because she helped me so much, and I take a lot from what she has to say, being, I guess, the mentorship lead. She always offers such good advice, and even though we're not in the same roles at all, I think mentorship with Elevate, it's not just about career, it's about all aspects of life. And so, Sophia, I definitely try to be more like you.
Aw, that means a lot, Emily. I'm happy to mentor you anytime.
Carolina, how about you?
I have a few mentors, and I would definitely say Sophia is one of them, even though it's not like official. But yeah, she's always really good, and I can always send her a quick text or a message, and I'm like, hey, can you help me with this? And she's always really open to doing that. And I do have a few other ones around here that are people that have been in the industry for a little bit longer than me, like the instructor that taught me how to be an instructor. To this day, I still contact her, and we still go for coffee and talk, and she always gives me really great advice. And I do have other ones that are other male instructors in the industry that are really good, or pilots in the industry that are friends now, but I would consider them kind of like my mentors as well.
That's a great point, that you can have more than one.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And not even like I have one and then I'm done and I go to another. You can have more than one at the same time. That's a really good point. Sophia, how about you?
Oh man, I have so many. I feel very blessed that way. I'd probably say my first mentor ever is my mom, who's just,
you have a great
I know
mom.
it's cheesy, but I do have a great mom, and my aunt and grandma. I have a lot of really powerful women in my life, and men that really encourage me that way. You, Kendra, are a huge mentor to me. You've literally changed my life in lots of ways, and helped me to become a better mentor. I can think of people like Gladys Bowditch, Mark Jerry in my flying careers. There's just Wayne Smith, who we lost this last year. There's lots of people out there that a mentor doesn't necessarily have to be an official person. It can, just be somebody that you feel like you can ask questions to, and that's there. So, I always, anytime we do any of our talks, I always say, who are you mentoring? And if you aren't mentoring somebody, start. Like it doesn't have to be an official thing. It's just being there for someone and trying to help them find their own path in their own way successfully.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so important to mentor. There's a country song by Tim McGraw that says, "Once you get there, turn back around and help other people," or whatever. Someone's gonna know what I'm talking about. But that's it. Like some people think that they're not good enough to mentor because they're not where they want to be yet. But everyone has done something that they can turn around and help somebody else, whatever level, wherever you are in life. There's somebody behind you, so to speak, where you can turn around and you can help them, and
100%.
don't be afraid of that, because mentoring other people, would you guys all agree that mentoring other people actually help you grow?
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's huge. Caleb has a question here. He said, do you also coach people and guide them if needed, or do you steer them to someone else?
Like in relationship to mentees or as in mentors? I guess I think.
I'm not sure. Caleb, if you want to clarify it a little bit more. But basically he says, some people need coaching. I'll take that one a little bit. We don't coach people so much unless it's a one-on-one sort of personal relationship that we develop on our own. Our program is mentoring, which we, like Sophia and like everyone's really mentioned, we try to kind of steer away a little bit from telling people what to do. And we mentor them, sort of guide them, help them see the bigger picture, and maybe help them see the choices that are in front of them. Coaching would be more, I think, something that we do one-on-one with people that we meet on a personal level, and we decide to take that on our own. So I know I've definitely coached some people. Sophia, I know you've coached some people. But it's not necessarily an Elevate program that we have coaching for. We do consulting, which is a bit different. We do consulting. We will go into businesses and help them set up mentorship programs, or help them set up diversity programs for people who are trying to find more diversity for their companies. We have the experience through different projects of finding out, why women aren't looking at their industry, and help them find more diversity to come into their industry. So we do consulting and we do mentoring, but not so much in the coaching. Maybe that's something we'll take on though, Caleb. We are starting to look at opening a learning center campus out at the Edmonton airport, where people will come and we'll actually train them. And once we start that program, I think that will develop into more of a coaching program. Okay, we're going to do some last words. Emily?
Why am I always?
You're gonna. I know, Emily. You're gonna send us off. We're all gonna say some last words. Any advice or just any thoughts on your mind that you want to leave us with?
No, the only one would be, I guess, just to follow your passion and follow your heart. And if you are interested in a career in aviation, I think you should definitely reach out and try to find a mentor. And if you're thinking about becoming a mentor, anyone can be a mentor, as we've said. So I think you should join Elevate, and we would love to have new mentees and mentors.
That's very nice last words, Emily. Carolina, any last words for you?
I think if I was to give like my 2 cents, if there is something that you want to do or you're thinking of doing, take that first step, because if you just stay thinking and thinking and thinking, then it's never going to happen. But if you take that small first step it is, then you're already closer to your goal at that point.
You're right. One step
Really
at a
good
time.
advice.
Yeah. Sophia, last word?
I guess just I just am so grateful for everything that we've got with Elevate, and the incredible individuals that we have that have put so much work and effort into it, and to all of which they're all volunteers, which I think needs to be stood on a little bit, because they're all really amazing volunteers, and
they're all getting pay raises,
of their heart,
doubling their pay. for Christmas.
Yeah, maybe they'll get a t-shirt one year. You never know. So I think all of our mentors and mentees keep asking. And if you don't hear from us, or if, you have more questions, just reach out. Remember that, take control of your situation, right? And ask the questions, and we're happy to help, but, we're all volunteers. So we appreciate the patience. And I can't thank the people that have, like Emily and Carolina and the rest of our mentor leads and the ambassadors and all the volunteers we have across this country are just incredible. And I'm so proud to be a part of this organization.
Oh, thank you guys so much for taking the time to be here. And I want to thank you guys and all the people that you're working with and all the people inside Elevate Aviation, the mentoring program is like one arm of a lot of things that we do. And so if you just think about that for a moment, all the people who are volunteering in different ways, and all of them are doing it out of the goodness of their heart to help other people. And I just feel like it's just such a big ray of sunshine. I feel like Elevate is just this ray of sunshine that's shining out on people and trying to get more people inside that light and say, you can live a life that you want to live. You can live a life you love. Emily, you can be in aviation. You can, whatever it is, even if it's not aviation, our mission is really to encourage people to live the life they love. Don't be afraid, and go after it and find help where you need it. So thanks to anyone that's watching from Elevate that volunteers as part of us. Thank you guys so much for being here. And maybe we'll have a part 2 of the mentorship program later on too, and even get into more stories and more of the practical things that we do to make this work. So thank you guys so much for being here. And Carolina, thank you for safely flying back quickly to come and join us.
Oh, thank you, Kendra, and thanks, Sophia.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Okay, see you guys later. Bye.